Hello, this is Farhad Hafezi, and I'm one of the founders of the Light for Sight Foundation. This video has been specifically prepared for the 2017 XOVA application. Light for Sight focuses on a disease of the human cornea called keratoconus. As you can see here, the cornea is the first structure that is hit by light when light travels through the eye. And a normal human cornea should maintain the same curvature and shape throughout life. There should be no change, neither in curvature nor in shape. In other words, when you get more myopic or short-sighted, it's rather the length of the eye that increases, but not corneal shape or curvature. If this happens, it is always a pathological condition, and the most common is keratoconus, where you see an abnormal bulging forward, as you can see here in the animation. And this forward bulging leads to a visual impression that is heavily distorted. As you can see here, this is a simulation of an early form of keratoconus, and Swiss Television has filmed with us a few years ago the visual perception of a conus patient at the early stages and then at the late stages of the disease, with double, triple, even quadruple images that, again, cannot be corrected for by glasses. And this makes this disease, keratoconus, the leading cause of legal blindness in children and adolescents worldwide. Up to the year 2003, there was no cure for keratoconus, and the only thing we could do as eye surgeons was to replace the cornea, even in the young, so perform a corneal transplantation with all the associated risks. In 2003, a new technique called corneal cross-linking, or CXL, had been introduced into ophthalmology, and I was part of the team that translated this new concept from basic research into current clinical care. And nowadays, cross-linking is the global standard of care for the treatment of keratoconus. Let me show you a cross-linking procedure. First, you anesthetize the eye, and then you have to roughen up the surface of the eye, because in the next step, we will apply a photosensitizer to the eye, which is riboflavin, or vitamin B2. This is the step where the riboflavin is applied. The whole procedure only has to be performed once. It takes roughly 25 to 30 minutes. And once enough riboflavin is present in the cornea, this is, by the way, me performing this procedure back in 2004, again filmed by Swiss Television at the time. And then we apply UV radiation to the eye to stiffen the cornea within a few minutes. This is the technology that we had built in Zurich, Switzerland. Here you see the fluorescence that shines back from the eye when the riboflavin is excited by the UV light. In the end, we apply antibiotic ointment and a bandage lens, and the eye heals within a few days. The success rate of this procedure is very high, is 95%. So now, having a technology at hand that can stop the disease, early screening and early detection are so important. So important, especially in the young, because this is where the disease keratoconus is the most aggressive. As you can see here, this is a massive increase of keratoconus as seen in corneal height maps, topographies. Keratoconus at a given moment and 12 weeks later, with a subsequent loss of best corrected vision of 30% within 12 weeks only in a 16-year-old. And this is where the disease is the most aggressive. The main problem we have is that current screening modalities, even in highly industrialized countries and highly developed countries like Switzerland, do not detect early keratoconus in most cases. You need special devices to detect this disease. The Light for Sight project and foundation started because we realized that there is a huge lack of information in most countries. And it started when my wife, who is an IP specialist in the field of ophthalmology, when my wife Nikki asked me roughly 6 years ago, she asked me, Farhad, we know that the prevalence of keratoconus, according to the literature, is 1 in 1,500, so relatively rare. This was the knowledge at the time, but there is a subset of the population that has a massively increased prevalence of keratoconus, which is Down syndrome. So how many Down syndrome kids have you treated so far? And I told her, 2 in the past 10 years. And then we realized, why don't I see more Down syndrome patients if I perform so many cross-linking procedures? It is mainly due to a lack of information on multiple levels. And this is why we started Light for Sight. We realized that there is a lack of information on the level of the general practitioners, on the level of the families of patients, pediatricians, and vision care specialists like optometrists, opticians, ophthalmologists. So the mission of Light for Sight is to stop preventable blindness, mostly due to keratoconus, in children and adolescents by increasing awareness, by screening and treating, and by supporting research. Increase awareness. What we have given to Light for Sight as a mission is information dissemination and development and implementation of best practice models, and also to create a global network of reference sites, partner sites, that would perform screening in their countries, that then would identify patients, young patients with keratoconus, and perform cross-linking. Now, cross-linking is so new that in many countries it still is not part of the standard reimbursement program of the health insurances. So families with financial needs have a very, very hard time to get their children treated. The partner sites are willing to waive the honorary fees of the doctors, and in severe cases even perform the procedure without charging for the technical fees as well. So in the past years, we have performed information dissemination amongst ophthalmologists like Brazil to the left, Slovenia to the right, and we have tried to increase awareness with patient organizations like the Down syndrome organization of Germany, as you can see in the middle. We have implemented and inaugurated interdisciplinary symposia, like with the Belgian Society of Ophthalmology that gathered in November 2013, developmental psychologists, pediatricians, general practitioners, internists, and ophthalmologists in this one-day symposium. We have opened chapters throughout the world. This is the Thessaloniki chapter in Greece in 2015. And we also took care of regions that have not even a standing keratoconus or cornea consultation in the entire country, like Tajikistan, where we managed to get cross-linking treatment to a young Down syndrome patient with keratoconus who had to travel to Tehran, all expenses paid for by the partner site, to get cross-linking treatment. Besides increasing awareness, as I said, screening is primordial now that we have a therapy for the disease, and we have so far managed to be present in 4 continents, 20 countries with the Light for Sight Foundation. And this is something we are very proud of. All these partner sites, as I said, are willing to treat, perform screening for free, waive the honorariums, and even treat for free if necessary. To do so, we had to develop a special protocol that is adapted to the special needs of children. Children, especially below their teens, are sometimes not very compliant to a local procedure, so we need to treat them under general anesthesia. And also in the case of Down syndrome, sometimes the compliance might be an issue. And this is where we have adapted the so-called Light for Sight protocol. We are now a member of Down Syndrome International, and we have created, together with the National Keratoconus Foundation in the US, the World Keratoconus Day, again to increase awareness and to provide free screening to our local population. All these elements came into place to also enable us to perform the third pillar of our foundation, which is support research in the field. The genetic causes of Down syndrome are not known yet, but before we can attack the underlying causes, we need to better understand, is this really a rare disease as suggested by multiple papers that appeared in the 1980s or 90s, or might keratoconus be a much more common disease that was simply not detected 20 and 30 years ago because the sensitivity of the screening machines at that time was by far not as high as today. And also, most of the old literature was performed in Western countries, and we nowadays know that the geographical variations in keratoconus prevalence can be very big. So newer literature suggests that the prevalence might even be 1 in 500 in certain areas of the Middle East. To learn more about this, we have started a preliminary study in Saudi Arabia that screened almost 1,200 eyes of school children between the age of 8 and 19. And to our great surprise, we found a prevalence that is, we are still performing the final calculations, that will be between 1 in 50 to 1 in 60 patients. So massively higher than what had been reported in the literature up to now. And we take this study as the basis to implement later on what we call the KMAP study, which will be a global prevalence study to investigate the prevalence of keratoconus on various continents. And again, this would not have been possible without these multiple partner sites. In the past 4 weeks, we were contacted by 4 more countries, all university clinics in their countries that want to join our program. And as you can see here, we make it fairly easy and straightforward to assess whether a partner site is eligible. And associates are not full-fledged partners, but can be experienced ophthalmologists in private practice that want to help the cause and want to build up a referral network to a partner site. Lymphocyte is special in the sense that we take 0% overhead for any administrative issues. We put a lot of time and effort and energy into it on a volunteer basis. And what we get back from the patients, besides all the research and all the screening program, is just so much sympathy, so much love. As you can see here, this is Nanny. And Nanny is a Paralympics 50-meter breaststroke gold medal winner from Portugal with keratoconus. And we flew her in from Portugal, performed the treatment at our institute in Switzerland. And you see her here together with our optometrist, Mrs. Simon Huber. Thank you for your attention.